opportunity to come here tonight. Each year it gets better and better, and the contestants get better and better. This year we had over 65 posts that have entrance into the program. All 8 districts submitted, and we had 8 finalists that we had to judge. And I'll tell you what, this year was not a problem, because for the first time, our winner was the #1 pick of all the judges. And this year I am so proud to recognize our winner this year, Malachi Williams from Post 649.
For this opportunity. It is such an honor to be recognized for something as simple as a speech in the presence of people who have sacrificed so much for our country. So thank you for all you do, and we will never forget your sacrifice. Why my vote matters. Liberty. This simple word is often spoken so nonchalantly today in 21st century America. Webster's dictionary describes this idea as the freedom from arbitrary or despotic government or control. One cannot help but speculate as to what it meant from the lips of the patriots who signed that hallowed document in 1776, which voiced their Declaration of Independence and simultaneously served as their death sentence. Within this document, our founding fathers explained the basis for their beliefs and laid the foundation upon which our great nation is built. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. With the instigation of this resolution, politics was no longer the resignation of personal convictions in the service of a king. No longer were matters of state primarily dictated based on the whims and agendas of an individual. The governed had a right to influence the policies of their nation. The right to vote maintains the national balance of power and allows the grassroots of America to have a voice that the government can no longer ignore. In the 2016 United States presidential election, only about 56% of eligible citizens were present at national voting centers on election day. Surprisingly, few Americans seem to realize the value of voting rights and the vital role they play in the political functioning of our nation. The Pilgrims of the 17th century fearlessly set out to establish a society in which their rights could be heard and heeded. They understood the magnitude of representation, and their descendants were eventually willing to lay down their lives for the liberties of democracy. Through the political battles fought by the women's suffrage movement and other such groups, the freedom to vote expanded to every American in the nation, despite varying differences in pasts. Today, only about 15% of the global population live under a fully democratic government. We have the privilege of being a fraction of that percentage. The least that we can do to honor the rights to which we are benefactors is to utilize the freedoms upon which our government relies so that it can continue to serve the American public as a whole. Although polarization across the United States continues to steadily climb, the number of voters participating in presidential elections has lowered by approximately 7% since 1960. Ironically, it seems that as partisanship and personal political beliefs grow stronger, the willingness to act upon them declines. The peaceful tactic of electing representatives who embody the common ideals of the populace is being compromised by the implication of riots and lies in order to achieve a political agenda. This only threatens to tear the country further apart. Many tend to blame the polarization of our national leaders on the political agendas of the government, without considering the initiative taken at the voting booths from which their authority originally derived. This simple solution has been written in our country's constitution all along. Although we may not be able to dictate what decisions our leaders will make, we can decide who is able to make them. The right to vote is one of the most influential ways in which American citizens can promote the values that define the policies of their nation. President Lyndon B. Johnson once noted that a man without a vote is a man without protection. The common trend today of American complacency at the voting booths will not aid in the preservation of the individual ideal in the United States government. The framers of the Constitution understood that the security of the rights endowed upon the American citizen would require a government that operates by the consent of the governed. If we who are responsible for the application of this right refuse to execute it, then we leave our nation to operate by other principles. The right to elect the leaders of our country is a privilege that has been tasked to the American citizenry since the days of our founding fathers. It is an obligation that neither you or I can take for granted. Although it seems superfluous in comparison to the rich history and intricate functions of our nation, my vote matters. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
You're on your way to Washington, D.C. You will meet 52 other participants. View the Capitol. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, we're running for a $30,000 scholarship if you win first place. As with all our VOD winners that will be in Washington, D.C., I have for you pins that you can trade among your members. Madam President, come on up here. That you will receive from both the commander that you can pass among your friends and from the auxiliary. May your trip be fantastic. May you bring us back the #1 slot. Because we are Georgia.